Graham from Rugby Forecast. Mate, how's it going? The Rugby Championship is not too far away. How are we feeling?
Pretty good. I always enjoy watching the Rugby Championship. It's as a neutral, it means I can just enjoy the rugby without feeling existential angst the entire time. So yeah.
Yeah, you've kind of got the reverse of what I've got with the Six Nations because, you've always got your Scotland factor going into that one, whereas I can just sit there hoping that your guys maybe will get it done this year. It's Rugby Championship time. Do you have a gut feeling or not too decided about it yet?
My gut was South Africa, I guess I would say. Even looking at the fixtures and we'll go into the stats in a minute. Feels like South Africa are very strong at the moment. Like they don't lose many. And as we were kind of discussing off air just a minute ago, New Zealand's always very, very good, but feel more prone to banana skin nowadays. Feels like they could lose a random one against Argentina, which, if you're trying to win the Rugby Championship and trying to beat the Springboks, you can't afford to slip up elsewhere. So I'm sort of leaning towards the Boks.
That's right. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I haven't done the stats on it either, but I feel like the All Blacks used to have that kind of more ruthless edge about them, that even the games which they didn't maybe play that well, they were still able to get a result. And I'm not saying the All Blacks are a bad team by any means nowadays, but like you say, like every competition, Rugby Championship, recent years, there seems to be a game. I mean, last year it was losing at home to Argentina kind of thing. Other years it's been slip-ups against the Aussies and whatnot. So, yeah, the Boks do seem to have that kind of ruthless edge about them. And there's that Eden Park fixture, which is kind of tantalizing everyone, at least here in New Zealand and I think in South Africa at the moment. But we don't get to see each other play until the third round, starting off with I don't know. Are they more lopsided fixtures, do you think? The Boks hosting the Wallabies and the All Blacks heading over to Argentina?
Oh, 100%, yeah. Well, there we go. Yeah, you can see, 90%, South Africa are a very strong team. They've, I think, are they the top ranked team in they're certainly obviously the number one ranked team. Yeah, and they're both sets of rankings. My rankings and the World Rugby rankings, top of the pile, basically. So it's going to be a tough ask to beat them at home. Australia probably a little bit better than that 9% suggests, and the recent Lions test would suggest that they're probably a little bit better than they might be giving credit, than the algorithm's giving credit for. The algorithm is, looking at recent form, but recent form is greater than sort of the last two games, basically. So it's looking at the last few years, basically, and Australia haven't been great over the last few years. Yep. So you can argue they'd be better than that 9% chance, but 9%, to turn that into a win it would be a big ask, basically, for Australia. So yeah. And then, as you say, New Zealand in Argentina, yeah, 70, 75, 25, 1 in 4 chance for Argentina. Probably feels quite fair. You'd be leaning New Zealand, but it wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility for Argentina to sneak that, basically. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the teams shape up.
The one thing I like about the Wallabies at the moment is I feel like of all the July matches, they've had the most kind of grueling preparation in terms of pressure and whatnot. Like the Boks had Italy, Georgia. The All Blacks hosted kind of a understrength French side. The Argentinians had a few of their guys rested, and they also played an English team without their Lions, whereas the Aussies had like everything on the line with this once every 12 years, big pressure, big moments kind of thing. So that's I still think they're massive underdogs, but that's the one thing I do like about their chances in terms of, like you say, maybe being a bit better value than their 9%.
100%, yeah. Actually, maybe that's true. Maybe they'll catch South Africa cold. That first half might be their chance. I don't know. It feels like South Africa just got too much power as well, though. When push comes to shove, I feel like South Africa could just set piece, scrum it out, bring the bombs.
Sometimes literally that push comes to shove from that box pack.
So they might be dropping a few balls and the backs might not be firing, but always back their scrum to come through. And although in fairness, the Australian scrum was pretty good against the Lions, and the Lions scrum it would be, if there was a rival to the bomb squad, you got to say, the
Mm.
Lions scrum would be up there basically with the squad depth and everything that they've got. But yeah, I don't know. The big difference in the Lions games was Skelton and Valentini. Are they fit again?
Yep, both have travelled, so that's certainly a bit of good news for the Wallabies. I think Valentini only played like 40 minutes of the entire tour, which was unfortunate because he's one of their best kind of ball carrying loose forwards. So if he's fit, I think that certainly gives them a better chance. But like you say, even if everything goes right for the Wallabies, it still might not be enough, against the Box. The Box could come out cold and still probably find a way to win it, but yeah, we'll see. All Blacks have got a few injuries going into Argentina. And I was saying the other day that I think the All Blacks record against Argentina in Argentina is pretty good. But someone pointed out in the comments that since they've beaten us for the first time, we've actually hardly played them over in Argentina. I think it's just the once, because there was like a bunch of games during the COVID years. They beat us over in Australia. They've beaten us over here a couple of times in New Zealand. But then since the Rugby Championship got back going, I think we've only played them the once, and it was during a World Cup year in an abridged Rugby Championship, and that was a pretty emphatic win for the All Blacks. But yeah, we haven't really had like a proper, a couple of games over there since they've gotten the monkey off the back of being able to topple the All Blacks.
No, you're right. And I mean, the Argentinians love playing the All Blacks as well. It feels like that's a matchup. They like that fast and loose game, and they've also managed to, might be an oxymoron in a way, but they've managed to tighten up that fast and loose game as well, and that they play it quite well now. So yeah, they looked. I mean, they were sloppy against England in some ways in the summer, but with a few players back and a bit more time under the belt, they might be. The All Blacks are going to have to be, they're going to have to be on point to beat them.
Yes.
Yeah.
My main worry is that there's so much focus on the South African fixtures. I mean, I guess it could affect the South Africans' prep against the Wallabies as well. But if either of the All Blacks or the South Africans are too busy thinking about that first Eden Park match, take the initial couple of rounds lightly is a bit of a risk. And I feel like the Argentinians as well, they always seem to be best when they're absolutely written off. So, like when they came to New Zealand, absolutely written off. They upset us. I think last year's Rugby Championship, it looked like the Box were going to sweep the entire competition without dropping a game. They managed to beat the Springboks, by like 1 point at home. So maybe if the All Blacks win the first game and then the Pumas are written off for the second one, I feel like that is the biggest risk for the All Blacks because the Pumas just love being the underdog.
Yeah, no, they do. You're right. And there's a team as well that always seems to manage to come back from a large deficit as well. You'd always sort of think, I think in that South African game, were they not 17-0 down in the start or something
like that? Yeah.
And then you're sort of thinking, well, that's a huge deficit to come back against South Africa as well. And then suddenly they score 2 tries, and it's like, oh, this game's could go either way again. So you can never put them away. Basically, they're always good for 2 quick tries.
There's always a chance. Yeah, that's it. All right, what is it looking like? All Blacks, South Africa.
So the big one, yeah. Could go either way. Look at that. There you are. 50-50.
53.
Marginally leaning towards New Zealand, but that is 50-50. That's on a knife.
That's 50-50.
And I mean, I don't remember ever seeing a game being played in New Zealand where I haven't seen New Zealand. We're pretty heavy favourites. So this, speaks volumes basically of how good South Africa have been and how good South Africa's record has been against New Zealand recently. That this game is even that close. So yeah, I think, these games are going to define the championship. If you say it could go either way, so you'd expect it to be 1-1. But in a way, I don't know. I just feel like whoever wins the first one will go on to win the second one as well. Feels like tails are up, and in that sort of way. So But if these games will define the championship, so yeah, it could be.
Those venues are both quite interesting because the All Blacks record at Eden Park is quite incredible. They hardly ever drop games, haven't dropped one there since the French in the 90s. But that's also going to be a very big carrot for Russie to be targeting, because he would love to be the guy that is able to break that record, because he's not had a chance yet. Like, they have played in Auckland in recent years. The most recent one was at Mount Smart, but that's different from Eden Park. But then conversely, our record in Wellington, it's pretty terrible. Like, we don't play well there. Like, the Box, like a number of the guys in the squad have tasted victory there not that long ago. So
no, exactly. I mean, the New Zealand record in Eden Park is absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, that's 50 odd games or something there, 30 years. So yeah, it's a huge carrot. I mean, I think Scotland's the last team to win there.
Scotland did win there again. You guys beat was it Samoa just the other day?
Yeah. Huge. I mean, so if South Africa want any tips, they can obviously look at Scotland for that. How to get a big win in Eden Park. But yeah, I don't think that game will go quite the same way as the Scottish one did. So yeah,
maybe a slightly different vibe about it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Probably a bigger crowd, I would imagine, as well. But we'll see. But I mean, this time is obviously UK, but I will definitely be getting up for that to watch that game. So
yeah, that game sold out, I think, on the same day that they released the tickets. So that one is like, there's another fixture at Eden Park against the Wallabies later on in the Rugby Championship. That one still has tickets available. So yes, that one is very big viewing.
Home advantage for New Zealand is a big thing in rugby. So
yes,
get a good crowd in, make a lot of noise, influence the ref.
Well, I mean, looking at I kind of am pretty familiar with the way the algorithm works over all the years of having chats with you. But I mean, if anyone is new, the home advantage is a big deciding factor in how the weighting goes, isn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, you can see the main thing that goes in is basically how good is a team. So that's what these rankings are. They mark team performance. And South Africa are currently ranked higher. They're a better team than New Zealand. But the reason New Zealand are favourites at home is because of home advantage. So home advantage is worth, I think it's 4 points in rugby, in international, sorry. Different in different leagues. Interestingly, the French top 14 is something like 6 or 7 points. The French top 14
right?
Home advantage is massive in France, but in international rugby it's about 4.5 points. So you're essentially starting with a try advantage. And obviously New Zealand's record at home is pretty good as well, so that will lean into that a bit too. So that's why it's swung. What in a neutral territory would be a South African win to a narrow New Zealand win. But to be honest, on neutral territory, the game would be pretty close too. And even in South Africa, I think the game would, that prediction would be, 60-40, 65-35 in favor of South Africa. There are, two big teams going at each other. It's going to be tight wherever it is, I think. So yeah.
Now, definitely right now, there's some South African fan watching this going, so you're telling me that we're being written off. You're not giving us a chance because New Zealand are at like 53%, but that's not what you're saying, is it?
No, I mean, yeah, I've had this discussion with a couple of people already saying, what are you talking about? I can see you're predicting New Zealand to win, but then, if we'll get onto it down here, you're predicting South Africa to win the championship. How does that work? What's going on? And the reason is that, I'm predicting New Zealand to win this game, but it's 50-50. When you run the simulations, you run it 10,000 times. South Africa win this game 4,600 times in the simulations. So that's a lot of times to be winning these games, basically. So yeah, basically this game's on a knife edge, and both these games are a knife edge, and they will determine the outcome of the title of the championship, basically. Which is why, because these are 50-50, and we'll have a chat about the other games, why South Africa are marginal favourites, 60-40 for the overall, basically. But as soon as those games happen, these chances will go one way or the other, basically. As soon as one team wins, one team loses,
After rounds
You
3 and 4.
know,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah.
How are the Argentina and Wallabies games looking? Because there's going to be so much focus on the All Blacks in the box, but those guys will still be in action at the same time.
Yeah, I mean Australia, obviously traveling to South Africa, it's a tough place to go to start with. And then they go one home, one away against New Zealand. So it's it's tough going for the Australians. Then they have, but their games, so maybe they can flip one of those 4 games. It would be unlikely. Probably the one they would be looking at would be the home game against New Zealand. But then they've got 2 home games against Argentina, as you can see right in the middle, rounds 3 and 4. Those games are 50-50 at the moment as well. So rounds 3 and 4 are obviously the ones to watch at the moment for everybody. Every game.
Yeah, very similar reading, isn't it, to the All Blacks and the South Africa game? It's just the home advantage,
Home
really.
advantage nicking it basically. And again, though, you might argue Australia might be slightly better value for those based on the very recent, very immediate form they've shown against the Lions.
Mm.
And if they put in a couple of good performances against South Africa, they might pick up a bit of momentum and be a bit more confident going into those games. You might say maybe a little bit more than could go either way. Maybe you'd be leading Australia, but certainly those games will decide third and fourth. You'd say so yeah. Rounds 3 and 4 are the ones to watch for the championship, basically.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
1 and 2 and 5 and 6 are going to be all about the bonus points. I'd say if you can pick up some bonus points and some losing bonus points, obviously for the other sides, and they could be important if the middle rounds end up 1-1 basically. So yeah.
Looking at rounds 5 and 6, I can see, like you've got the All Blacks still as pretty big favourites. Obviously, it's a bit closer for the Wallabies in Perth, almost 20% chance. How does that compare with the Springboks games up against the Pumas and their rounds 5 and
Yeah.
6? One thing I forgot about the other day was the fact that there's a game at Twickenham. So the South African away game in that is it the final round is not actually a away game, it's more of a neutral.
Well, exactly, and that is why we have South Africa as favourites for the title. So, as you said earlier, you had a few questions about how come you're predicting New Zealand to win, but South Africa for the title. It's about the other games that South Africa are playing. So these middle games, as we've discussed against New Zealand, are 50-50 matches. So you can kind of, in the simulations, if you're imagining for the purposes of like who's going to win, you can kind of ignore them in a way because, in most of the simulations, they end up 1-1 basically. So if you remove them and look at the other 4 games that South Africa are playing, they're playing 2 games at home against against Australia, very strong favourites for them. They have 1 home game against Argentina, very strong home advantage as well. And then their away game is not away; it's in London, so it's neutral territory, and therefore pretty strong favourites for that one as well.
It's almost as strong as their home game in Durban, isn't it? Just looking at the numbers.
Yeah, 87-9 basically. Yeah, so it's pretty very, very strong home advantage. Just South Africa, essentially, they're not. If you ignore the New Zealand game, they're not playing any away fixtures. They've got 3 home fixtures and 1 neutral fixture. So very likely they're very likely to have 4 wins basically going in. If you then look at the New Zealand fixture outside of that, whereas New Zealand have the opposite. They have 2 away fixtures in Argentina. Again, kind of ignore the middle fixtures for now. 1 home fixture against New Zealand, against Australia, and then an away fixture. So New Zealand got 3 away fixtures and 1 home fixture, which is why if you sort of in the balance of all those probabilities, South Africa come out top in those other 4 games, basically, which is why they're currently the favourites for the overall, based on the other fixtures that they're playing. So yeah, it's an interesting one, I think, and it's something that I think, hasn't been teased out so much because if we have a look at the bookies odds, you can see 50-50. So the markets are saying 50-50 between New Zealand and Australia and South Africa, which I guess like intuitively you might say, yeah, it's fair enough because that's what they're, if you look at the fixtures in the middle fixture against each other, who's going to be brave enough to pick a winner out of that? That's a tough fixture to pick. So everybody's hedging their bets, but yeah, based on the other fixtures, I'm leaning South Africa. Which, you know, if you're the Box fans out there, call in South Africa. There you go. There you go. And because of that, worth a small bet on South Africa, basically. So yeah, it's they look like the value pick at the moment, and yeah, betting on South Africa at the moment is never a bad call. That's never a bad call at the moment. So
I don't think they'll like the fact that you've got them as overall season favorites, though. They seem to enjoy just being slight underdogs because then they can say, you know, you're writing us off, basically.
oh, everybody loves that. Everybody loves that. So I mean, as a Scot, obviously we're incredibly arrogant, and we always say we're going to win everything. So maybe we need to embrace the underdog a bit more. But yeah, everybody likes to be the underdogs. But no, South Africa. Yeah, you guys are the favourites. You got the favourites tag at the moment. I'm afraid it's narrow. I mean, I know it's 62-36. There's not much in that. There's not a huge difference between 60-40 and 50-50, basically. So yeah, but still, it's a narrow advantage, and because of that, it's worth a small bet if you're that way inclined. So.
It's funny you mentioned the Scotland connection because I swear that guy Matt Williams is always giving Russie grief, but he also calls out Scotland like every campaign for being like arrogant. I do not know how that guy gets as much airtime as he does. They must love him in Ireland, or I don't know. People seem embarrassed of him at times, but geez, he doesn't like Scotland and he doesn't like Russie.
It's trolling, basically. I think, isn't it? It's just trying to. He knows it gets some good clicks, so yeah, it's his USP at the moment, I think. So yeah.
There you go. So you've got Australia as the marginal kind of third favorite. How come they're slightly ahead of Argentina? Is it just the neutral venue factor again?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So they've got their home games against Argentina. So yeah, marginal favourites. No, as I said, I think maybe they could be slightly better value than that based on their performances in the lines. Although it was obviously only 2 fixtures, so it'll be interesting to see if they can carry that through. But yeah, Argentina and Australia at the moment are, well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Australia have been in pretty woeful form over the last few years, but they seem to have picked it up a little bit, got a bit of pride in the jersey again, and Argentina are steadily improving. So yeah, 2 away fixtures for them in Australia. They'll know those are their, although they would love an upset against one of the bigger guys, they'll know those are the fixtures they need to win in order to put a dent in the Rugby Championship. So yeah.
I'm going to say that the only teams that can use the word underdogs here are the Aussies and the Argentinians. Those are your genuine underdogs. The All Blacks and the South Africans are pretty much the joint favorites.
Yeah. No, exactly. They're the big guns in this tournament. I mean, the difference in as you can see here, 140, 138, 116, 112. So, the two teams are very, very closely aligned in the rankings, but there's a big difference between them. For context, my rankings compared to World Rugby's rankings, the vague way of looking at this is actually, you can look at this as a prediction. So this is what you might expect the score to be at a neutral venue. So if South Africa played Argentina in a neutral venue, as they are, obviously, you'd expect South Africa to win by 24 points. So that's a big score difference, basically. Now, there's a few other things that go into it in the actual predictions, which might, mean that the actual prediction is not exactly that, but that's roughly what it is. So, that's the way of looking at it. That's why South Africa and New Zealand are such heavy favourites for the title, and Argentina and Australia are such a long way behind. So yeah, but as you can see, obviously at the moment, British and Irish Lions are in there just because they've played a couple of fixtures
games recently. Yeah, that's one of the genuine differences between your rankings and the world rankings. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way your rankings slightly differs from the official world rankings is, like, I know in the official world rankings, the only way you can get points off a team is generally to win, and you can get marginal points if you draw, but you basically have to win. So even if Namibia played South Africa and lost by a point, which would be a massive, massive loss, they still get nothing from it on the world rankings, but your rankings would actually give them some credit for it.
Yeah, no, exactly. So everything moves according to the expectation. You should have won that game. South Africa should win that game by 70 points. So if they only win it by 1, then you'd argue maybe are probably a bit better than you might expect. But yeah, World Rugby wouldn't reward them for that, but my rankings do. So that's why, as I say, I can prove they're more accurate in predicting.
You prefer your rankings to World Rugby's ones.
Well, World Rugby's rankings aren't bad. They're a pretty good predictor of form. Like, they're not bad, but give them credit. They are pretty good, and obviously you can see they're pretty similar. New Zealand, South Africa, New Zealand, Ireland, France, South Africa, New Zealand, Ireland, France, England, Australia, Argentina, England, Argentina. They're pretty close. So yeah. But just as I say, I can prove mine are marginally more accurate. So yeah, that's why I prefer to use them. And obviously, you can read them. The World Rugby's points don't mean anything. I think people used to think they were sort of out of 100 or something like that, but they don't really mean anything. And there's no, it's not like if you're 2 points ahead of somebody else, you're and somebody else is 1 point behind. They don't really mean anything basically. Whereas, as I say, mine, you can kind of look at them and say, oh, these guys are 2 points better. So that points difference actually does the gaps. You can kind of say, oh, these guys are a lot better than those guys. That actually means
feels a lot more tangible, hey?
So yeah, but it's an interesting way of looking at it. And as you said, that's why there's such a differential between the top 2 and the bottom 2 here. But yeah, it's always interesting sitting here at the start of the tournament and having a look at this and having this discussion. And then in round 1, Argentina win a game and Australia win a game, and it will all go up in smoke.
It all blows up. Yeah, there's always. Well, I mean, that's part of the joy of watching the sport, right? Is that it is not always just, like how it goes on paper or how it is predicted to go.
Yeah. So
if anyone wants to have a wee look for themselves, to have a play around with some of the fixtures and the season chances and whatnot, and also other competitions. I know there's other competitions coming up. Club rugby is not too far away in the Northern Hemisphere and whatnot. Curry Cup's going on, NPC's going on. Where are they going to find the information?
All on the website here, as we've been looking at, Rugby Forecast. You go to sportsforecast.com. Easy enough, find Rugby Forecast at the top. It's all in here. You can see all the tournaments. Curry Cup's on at the moment, obviously. All the predictions for that. We've got the NPC running, which is always a hugely entertaining tournament. I love that.
I find the NPC unbelievably difficult to predict.
It's crazy. I love what was it? The very first match, and they were like 30-0 down or something at half time.
Yes.
Came back and won. It was absolutely crazy. It was just like, that's only in the NPC do you get that.
Yes, that was my team that lost that game. They had like a 2-score lead with 5 minutes to go and managed to somehow throw it away.
Yeah. So, there you go. So apologies for bringing that up, but it's an entertaining moment. So. And as you can see, top 14, Gallagher Prem, URC for the Europeans, all starting in a couple of months, basically. We've got the Women's World Cup coming up as well. We've got predictions for that in here.
Oh man, how big England? What's your season chances or your cup chances for England?
How the season chances, World Cups, and all the different permutations of tournaments are incredibly difficult to do. I haven't managed to get that up and running, but based on the rankings, I think you can.
England are like 20 plus points better than everybody else.
Yeah. So
and they're at home.
So England will be very heavy favourites when I manage to get the seasons up and running. When I program that in, basically, England will be very heavy favourites. But they obviously haven't won the last few World Cups. They've come a cropper in the final, so they shouldn't this time round. But Cup rugby, World Cup rugby, Cup. What they say. The magic of the FA Cup in that sort of way, basically.
Yeah, there you go.
Knockout rugby, isn't it? So it's
only that one game. It only takes one slip up. It only takes that one and like 9% chance or whatever can come a cropper. So yeah,
exactly. So yeah, there's as you can see, it's a very clear favourite, and then Canada, France, and New Zealand all playing second fiddle at the moment, and then there's a pretty big gap to the rest as well. But you can pick the games out. I think any game with England at the moment will be pretty heavy favourites. But then you can obviously, as I always try and say to people, pick out the the good matchups in there, basically, to
Mm.
see which might be the games to have a watch, basically. So yeah, it's all up. It's all up on Rugby Forecast. Check it out. All updates every day, all the matches, all the chances. So yeah, have a look and see.
Cool beans. Well, Graham, cheers once again for your time. It's always good to have a wee chat prior to the competition to see what the chances are and compare your numbers to the bookies' numbers and whatnot. And then, yeah, we'll see how it all pans out. Fingers crossed, my All Blacks can get it done. But if not us, then maybe Australia. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's sort of be boring for the tournament in a way, but I really hope the favourites win the first 2 rounds. You want New Zealand and South Africa to come into those
With everything on the line.
with everything on the line. You don't want New Zealand to have already slipped up and then suddenly it'd be like, oh, well, now they have to win those games, and even if they win them, they might still not win.
Not win it. Yeah, exactly.
So
Yes.
yeah, it would be boring for the tournament, but in the overall, it'd be great. I think for the third round, basically that Eden Park fixture, put it all on the line.
Indeed. All right, man. Well, good to catch up, and we'll no doubt have you on at some point in the future.
Nice one. Good luck, everybody. Enjoy.
Thank you, pal.